one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now recite with me the 4-H pledge. I choose my head to clear leaning, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health for better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
To kick off our Stocker Feeder show with the Angus breed. We're going to start with Class 10, the male Stocker Feeders. So first and second call for Class 10 male Stocker Feeder in the Angus breed.
Down here. Yeah, because, so like I'll usually leave like the top 3 over there. Or 2, depending on how like top it is, and I'll normally like place those 3 on the wall and have like the class winner come into the middle, talk it.
At this point, I would like to take a second to introduce our judge. His name is Jesse Vallejo from Omaha, Nebraska. Jesse grew up on a cow-calf operation in Northern California before attending Kansas State University, obtaining a bachelor's in animal science and a master's in feedlot nutrition. While at K-State, he was a member of the Reserve National Champion Livestock Judging Team. He serves as a business insurance specialist for Federated Insurance and raises competitive club calves and breeding females. Let's give Jesse a warm Gage County welcome. Tanner and Brady, how you doing over there? Ready to start? No, not quite? Okay, who do you need? The first class of Angus male stocker feeders, we need Miley Gaddy and Tatum Schroeder. That one might have been a scratch, but it was, okay. This is going to be first call for class 20 female stocker feeder Angus.
in so we can get them things kind of closed up to the wall. So it helps make a bigger circle. We can just kind of get a little wall nice and close to the wall.
This is second call for Angus female stalker feeder. Second call. Just a little bit to get them some more room. No, no. Well, I just want to start by saying thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to get out here and evaluate through some of these young cattle today. I really can appreciate the facility, the airflow on a day like this. There's a lot of time and effort and pride that goes into this place. It sounds like this is a pretty big county fair here in Nebraska. So I'm honored to get to come here and give you my opinion for the day.
A really nice set of younger Angus bulls. It sounds like they're all in that February and March group. To me, I'm just going to go with the one that hits me with a little more balance from the side, one that kind of proportions together. He's probably not the stoutest in class in terms of just hip and muscle and top. I will give that to the calf that's in second. But just when that one kind of gets on the move, I like how that one's front end and his shoulder build just hits me as a little more comfortable, athletic, and that one's got the right turn to his rib shape, and I probably like that one in terms of how his hip and hind leg is built, and that's where I just see that one maturing into a bit more attractive, more functional type of animal at the ground. And that's taken nothing away from the calf in second, because I really like a lot of things about him. I think that one's really masculine about his head and his neck. And with that comes a little bit of shoulder. I really appreciate how that one is coming really strong and stout out the backside of his shoulder. He's got a big rib cage in him and a big old hip. It's definitely that added muscle, performance, meat and potatoes center body that probably gets him the nod over the calf that rounds out the class. This is a March calf that's a little later born than those two ahead of him, and he just kind of got put up against two today that have quite a bit more weight per day of age. But that one, that when he gets him calm and set up, that one is square to the ground. He's built right. I think you keep taking some groceries to him, and that one's going to get better as time goes on. So really nice class to start out. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the rest of the day.
Okay, we forgot to go about ribbons. One before you.
Now entering the ring is Angus female stalker feeder class. Receiving a blue in the Angus male stalker feeder class is Kyler Cotis. Receiving purple is Reese Barnard, and receiving first purple is Avery Barnard. This is first call for Bronve male stalker feeder. First call. This will also serve as a first call for the Charlet male stalker feeder class. After this class, we will bring in the top 2 purples from the male stocker feeder class to be compared with the top 2 purples from the female stocker feeder class for your champion and reserve champion Angus stocker feeder. This is the second call for the Bronve male stocker feeder.
Really nice calf to land on. I think a rather logical first place for me. One that just hits you with a lot of body and a lot of feminine character. At this age, it's really hard to have them bloomy and to have some condition on them. I expect them to be pretty raw and green. So when one can be really green in their condition, but still have that kind of capacity to their center body. She's actually got some width up there through her chest. She sets down on a nice, comfortable set of feet and legs. She wants to fight back a little bit, but when she gets loined, she relaxes in that top line. Everything comes together. That's a really nice female to start. And then we get down into a pair of heifers that are a little more comparable in their type and kind. I think it is just the added shape and rib shape right there in the heifer I elect in second that solidifies her over that one that rounds out the class. I think she's a little more comfortable in how she sets down on her hind leg, but she is a nickel shorter bodied, and that's where I'll give the edge to the heifer that rounds out the class, one that's pretty level designed in terms of her top line. I think she's appropriate in the angle of her knee. Just every once in a while that one wants to get a little funky right there in her hip. Kind of wants to stick those hind legs a little outside of herself. But with that, I think some condition and a little bit of time, everything might collect together and push that one better ahead.
Receiving a blue ribbon is Reese Barnard. Receiving second purple, Baylor Barnard, and first purple, Avery Barnard. Returning in the ring from Class 1, we have Avery Barnard and Reese Barnard. From Class 2, we've got Avery Barnard and Baylor Barnard.
You know, it's not every day that, you know, we have the opportunity to get back cattle from their respective sexes in these champion division drives. I think it's really neat because just from kind of my perspective, I think of, you know, which animal is going to give more in terms of their breeding potential, whether they're a female or a male. To me, I think that men need to look like men. They need to be masculine. They need to be stout, big-footed, with a big scrotal development. Females, I like them refined, but still to have some feature. I want a lot of body. I want a look of quality. I want some structure, and I don't want them to be as skinny as a rail. But I'm not the biggest muscle guy when it comes to females. I like them to look ladylike. I think there's one that fits that bill a little better for me. The young man's heifer will be champion. The bull will be reserved.
Receiving champion Angus Stalker Feeder is Avery Barnard with her heifer, and reserve champion Angus Stalker Feeder is Avery Barnard with the male. Now entering the ring is the Bronze Male Stalker Feeder class. We only have one entry in this breed, so we will also be doing the champion Bronze and reserve champion Bronze simultaneously. This will also serve as a second call for the Charolais breed. And a first call for the Gelby breed.
With a single entry in this Bronze feeder class, division, whatever you'd like to call it, there's a lot of really good things to talk about in this calf and the young man. I know this isn't showmanship, but his ability to stay very calm and collected and keep that calf really mellowed out and actually get him set up with that much presence. My hat's off to you on that because you make the calf look really good. He told me that that's a middle April calf. For one to be that young, I'm pretty lenient in terms of muscle and development and flesh because that one does a lot of good for me. He's really, really level built all the way out to his hip. He sets down on big, square, flexible feet and legs. I don't know if he's just, the biggest topped, thickest ended, but for having some eared Brahman influence in him, that one's still very attractive from the side in my opinion. I like that calf for an individual in this class quite a bit.
Receiving purple and champion Bronze Stalker Feeder is Landry Krause. Now entering the ring is the Charolais Male Stalker Feeder class. second call for the Gelby female stalker feeder class, and first call for the limousine male stalker feeder class.
Two very, very high quality young Charolais bull calves. The young lady said that pretty sure that these are twins. I would say that young man's bull calf on the right probably was a little more aggressive to the teat. Might have got a little more groceries. He's definitely the bigger outline, bigger scaled, higher performing calf. Got a lot of thickness to him. Got a big foot underneath him. But when the young lady right here gets her calf parked, I think that's where I really tie into this one's balance, presence. I think that once you get those two weaned and apart, that one might do a whole lot of good. You see how comfortably and square he puts his feet down. I think his neck comes up out of his shoulder a little better. He's a little more comfortable on the move, and I like him out through his hip a little better. I think he's a little more practical and attractive and level in the way that his hips laid into him. That's my kind in terms of those two. Young ladies will be your champion, Char.
Receiving purple ribbon and champion Charlet Stalker Feeder is Charity Schnelly. Receiving purple ribbon and reserve champion is Karsten Schnelly. Entering the ring. Next is the Gelbe breed. We've got one female Stalker Feeder. Then we'll move on to the limousine breed. So this is a second call for the male Stalker Feeder class in the limousine breed, and a first call for female limousine Stalker Feeders.
A very powerful individual in this single entry. A heifer that hits you with a ton of mass and stoutness and body and rib shape. I mean, just really hits me with some kind of brood cow image. I like that about her. I think she's got a big functional set of feet and legs under her. That one's obviously quite a bit further in terms of age and development than some of these that we've worked through so far, but that's one that I can really appreciate. I'd like to maybe make her a little cleaner fronted, a little bit more extended up through her front end, but when she gets her head up, she does pull it together. That's a really nice individual to be respectful.
Receiving a purple ribbon in Grand Champion Gelbe of Stalker Feeder is Holly Goes. Now entering the ring is our first class of Stalker Feeders from the limousine breed, the males. And this is a final call for the female Stalker Feeder class. A first call for the maintainer female Stalker Feeder class. Looks like there's just one class of limousine Stalker Feeders here, so we will select the champion and reserve champion from this class.
bring him out into the middle of the ring. We'll start with the young man's black calf. Just so much more growth, maturity, development. I think that one's bigger scale, longer bodied. He's just more robust in his kind. He's bolder in his rib. He's deeper in his flank. And he's just more developed in terms of masculine image. I do like the red calf in terms of the shape that he's got from behind in terms of this day and age. He just runs out of gas in terms of maturity and performance compared to that one that wins, but still a nice calf to have in this duo.
Receiving a purple ribbon and champion limousine stalker feet. You don't have a second class. It was a scratch. It was scratch. Scratch. Yeah. Which I said 3 minutes ago. Okay, receiving champion and purple ribbon male stalker feeder limousine is Dawson Sims. Entering the ring, we've got the maintainer breed, female stalker feeder. This is going to be a second call for the Piedmontese stalker feeder class and a first call for the Polled Hereford class. Receiving second purple in the limousine class is Weston Whitwer. He also receives the Reserve Champion Limousine Stalker Feeder.
That way I'm not. We got a really nice baldy heifer out here. I mean, I know this is a single entry, so she's going to be championed in her respected breed by default, but this one's going to be able to take a lot of competition. One that I really, really like when you study the center portion of her body. That one's feet and legs. She's a little hot, and that's because she's got a really nice thick set of hair on her that I can appreciate. But just one that's fundamentally good at the ground in terms of her female character, and puts it together with some extras in terms of some look and some smoothness and refinement up front. That's a real nice calf for this young man.
Receiving a purple ribbon and champion maintainer stalker feeder is Xander Seaman. Now entering the ring, we've got one class of Piedmontese, and then our next breed is Polled Hereford. So second call for the Polled Herefords, and then first call for the Shorthorn breed.
Thank you. You can set it up on the profile right You know, I don't get a chance to look at too many Piedmontese cattle, but if they look like this at this stage in their life, I wouldn't mind looking at a lot more. You know, for a breed that is known to be extremely stout and kind of harder bodied and tighter wound in terms of their skeleton, for one at this stage in their maturity pattern, I'm pretty impressed with how mobile this one is, and honestly has some softness there about her center body. Obviously she's really stout, got a lot of shape, but that one's pretty square and true how she comes at the ground. That's a pretty nice Piedmontese calf to have as a single entry, so my hat's off to you, young man.
Receiving a purple ribbon and champion Piedmontese stalker feeder is Kellen Schlickman. Now entering the ring, we have one class of Polled Herefords, the female stalker feeders. Second call for the Shorthorn breed, and this is going to serve as a first call for the first class of male stalker feeders in the Simmental breed.
Ultra high quality dark cherry red Hereford heifer here to start. One that just hits you with a ton of look. I mean, that thing's an extension up front when she does want to, kind of set up and cock off and he gets her loined. That one gives you a pretty sporty look from the side, for a lack of better words. She's really, really stout. With that, I do think that maybe she comes with a little bit of coarseness. Maybe want to tone that one down just in terms of how shapely she is, because I think it might make her a little more wound up in her tail head, and I'd like to see that one soften slowly as she develops going forward. I think if you smooth that one up just a little bit and get a little more center body to her, that one's going to get better and better, and she's got some pieces to be a big time bred as the days ahead come on. So very good job to this young man presenting a very high quality heifer to a very high degree.
Receiving purple and champion polled Hereford Stalker feeder is Trevor Spilker. Now we're moving on to the shorthorn breed. We've got one class, the male Stalker feeder class. And this is a second call for the Simmental male Stalker feeder class and a first call for the Simmental female Stalker feeder class.
Lone shorthorn bull out here, a roan calf that's a January born. I mean, that thing has got a lot of performance, a lot of grow to him. There's a lot that I can appreciate about him. That one is really comfortable in terms of his feet and legs. He's got some balance from the side, and by that I mean that he proportions. He maybe doesn't hit you as just the most exotic looking and kind of pull you in terms of a striking look from the side. And that might be because I'd like to clean him up there in his shoulder, smooth him up there just a little bit, and maybe have him hook up at the top side of his shoulder just a little more attractive. When you pick his head up like that, it helps quite a bit. But from there, I think that's a really bold-ribbed, thick enough made kind of a calf that's really level made, and he's square hawk from behind. Plus, I mean, in terms of masculine character, he's big-footed, and he's pretty good along in terms of his testicular development. Nice calf right here is a single entry.
Receiving a purple ribbon in champion shorthorn stalker feeder is Boston Crawford. We are going to move on to our Simmental breed. We've got a class of male stalker feeders, and this is the final call for our female class. We've got the males entering the ring now. This is also going to serve as a first call for the Foundation Simmental male stalker feeder class.
kind of come out and take a circle around? You know, I thought on this one probably a little more than I might typically, and it really came down to quality versus real-world traits. And I know this is a show ring, and I try to raise cattle that are going to excel in the show ring, and I want to win as much as anybody. When I was showing, I wanted to win as much as anybody, but at that same token, We are in the beef industry. These are prospect bulls. This entire, contemporary group, they're all Januaries. And that's not to say that there's anything that's wrong or bad with any of these three, but this one just overwhelms you in terms of power and growth and body. He's not the smoothest shouldered, he's not the prettiest, he's not the cutest, but boy, he is by far the biggest footed, most opened up, robust beef bull in here. That one's setting down a pretty large set right there for a January. I can appreciate that one's going to add some pounds to a weaned calf crop, and I think that he's plenty good in terms of his feet and legs. I'd like to make him more attractive, and boy, that's where I really tie into this baldy calf. I want to use him all day, I do, and if he was a heifer, I'd use him without question. He is so attractive from the side. He's so smooth, but I gotta call him pretty because I think that's what he is to me. I think he's a little frailer jawed. I don't think he's got quite enough iron to him. I don't know if he's just big top, thick-ended, and opened up enough. If those truly are both Januaries, I just got to give the edge in terms of growth and power. But that one's look from the side, his collection, his levelness of build, his shape to his center body, that's where he's going to get the pretty easy nod over this one for me. This is a calf that does have some more meat and potatoes to him. Huge bodied, he's got some thickness to him. I think that he just falls out a little in terms of look from the side. Just wants to get a little lower headed, a little rounder made, and duck his pins up underneath him. But a really nice trio of Simmental bulls to sort through nonetheless.
Receiving a blue ribbon is Caden Allington. Receiving second purple is Shelton Crawford. First purple is Caden Allington. In the ring now, we have the female stalker feeder Simmentals. Second call, Foundation Simmental male stalker feeder. First call, Foundation Simmental female stalker feeder. After this class of the Simmental, we will do a class of the Simmental champions. So we'll need first and second purples to come into the ring.
A really nice set of Simmental females and a very nice one to land on to start. I think the one that puts the most good together. I mean, you start at the ground. That one's feet and legs are so honest and true. They all face north. They all set down pretty square and wide. That one's got a lot to her in terms of substance. She's so big in the center portion of her body, and she's got a big set of feet and legs underneath her. I mean, that one kind of hits you with some pretty high caliber pieces. She's still got a long ways to go in terms of maturity. It's hot, so none of these things are going to be perked up and really elevated about their front end, so I'm not going to ever harp on them about that. I think that one just ties a lot together in a lot of good ways, and it's probably how she handles her spine and how she handles her tail head that gets her the nod over the young lady's heifer in second. This one's probably got the edge in terms of muscle and shape. I think she's maybe a little bit more outward shaped to the center of her rib cage, but she just wants to get a little wound up there in her loin and her top line. I'd like to just relax her there. I think she'd give that one quite a bit of run for her money. And then we have one that kind of falls in the middle of those two. She's not the stoutest in the class, but she's not the lightest muscled. She's plenty sound. She just doesn't have as much center body and depth of flank as those two ahead of her, but that's still the higher quality heifer that I think needs to go over this one. The baldy kind of chromed up heifer is still one that's got a lot of length of body. She fills her track, and she's pretty level out of her hip when she gets set up. Just need to kind of put that one together a little smoother, kind of hook everything up with a bit more attractive look from the side, and then I think we're in a different conversation. But a nice heifer and very nice four to pull this class together.
Receiving a blue ribbon is Savannah Mason. Purple ribbon is Hayden Werner. Second purple is Charity Schnelly, and first purple is Elsie Warner. We are going to bring back the first and second purple from the male stocker feeder class. So that would include Caden Allington and Shelton Crawford, and bring them together with the first and second purple of the female stocker feeder class, which are Elsie Warner and Charity Schnelly. This is a second call for the Foundation Simmental male stocker feeder class and a first call female stocker feeder class.
Ready, I'll follow you.
Receiving champion Simmental stocker feeder is Elsie Werner. Reserve champion Simmental stocker feeder is Charity Schnelly. Now in the ring, we have Foundation Simmental. Male stocker feeders. Up next is the female stocker feeder. We'll bring the first and second purples back. And then we are on to the commercial breed. So this will serve as a first call for commercial male stocker feeders.
I won't belabor too long because when she gets them set up like that, it makes my job relatively easy. A calf that hits you with just a lot of balance, a look of quality. The young lady's doing a very good job getting that calf presented. One that I think's got enough body. He's got some look from the side. He's got a big square shapely top in him. He's maybe not the biggest scaled, biggest outline calf. But just reading from his indicators, his length of tail, his length of mug, I don't know that he'd be very old, so I don't really hold that against him. If I'd like to change him just a little bit, I'd maybe lengthen out his hip. He wants to get just a bit short hip there, but the way that he kind of sets those feet down comfortably, feels his track, and really motors when he gets around, that's a pretty nice calf to have. I'd be proud of him.
Receiving a purple ribbon in the male stocker feeder Foundation Simmental is Dayton Dorn. Now entering the ring are the female stocker feeders in the Foundation Simmental breed. This is a second call for the commercial male stocker feeder class and a first call for the female stocker feeder commercial.
Easily the deepest class or division breed, however you want to word it, of the day. There's one that I just think's got a ton of projection and future. She might not be the single deepest at the point of her navel today, but I read her with the truest, boldest rib shape. And I think that her underline is plenty good enough, and especially from the aspect that I think of those top three, she's probably the most opened up and actually has the truest amount of skeletal width at her chest floor, while being extremely tidy and ladylike about how she hooks up to the top side of her shoulder. You study that one's neck shape coming into her shoulder, very smooth, very feminine, very attractive, and then she explodes into this center cavity right there, comes out really long and level to her hip. She's got plenty of shape from behind. I mean, honestly, if we're going to get really critical on her, I'd like to give her a scotch more flank right there. That's going to come. That thing's got a good set of wheels. Her tail head's laid in probably a little better than those three ahead of her. I just think that one needs to win for me today. The heifer that comes out in second, when she came out in class, I thought, okay, now we got something to tie into, something to have some really fun things to say about, because I really do like a ton about this heifer. She is probably comparatively deeper there to her flank. With that, I think she's maybe pushing a little more chest. She's a little looser hided than that one ahead of her, and she might have a little more predisposition to deposit some fat there into that udder. But one that has got an incredibly functional set of feet and legs under her, one that hits you with a really, really cool maternal image from the side. She's loose structured. That one gets around all day, going to make a whale of a cow. And then the young man's heifer comes out in third. This is the power heifer in the class. You get behind those three, she's probably the thickest, stoutest, and boldest made from behind. With that, she's wanting to push a little bit of sternum, a little chest up there, and I'd like to square up how she sets those front 2 feet down. She ran into 2 pretty good ones ahead of her. That one wins a lot of classes. And that's nothing to take from these 3 that kind of round down this class. There's one with a lot of grow, a lot of length of body, and comparatively, she's probably better on how she uses her hock and hind leg. I do think that one needs to get shut down a little in terms of growth. Maybe need to feed on that one a little harder to get her to go out instead of up. And then we got a pretty nice female to base off of. I do appreciate the moderation of frame, the practicality of the heifer here. She gets around probably a little better out of her front end. I think she gets just a nickel straighter on her hock, and I'd like to kind of clean her up there right at the base of her shoulder and chest. But it's clear, frame, weight per day of age, performance traits that are economical indicators and are still relevant in the industry no matter what part you're in, that's going to get her over the young lady's heifer that rounds out the class. One that's really fresh and has some rib shape. Just need to relax that one in her spine and give her a shot of grow to move up against these ones here.
Now we will move on to the champion and reserve champion Foundation Simmental Stalker Feeder. In the ring, we need Dayton Dorn from the male Stalker Feeder class and Natalie Tronick and Rachel Bueller for the female Stalker Feeder class. I always butcher that, sorry. I'll get it right this time though. So, receiving blue ribbons in that female Foundation Simmental class, we had Dayton Dorn, Claire Schnelly, Elsie Werner. Receiving purple ribbons, we had Hayden Werner, Rachel Beeler, and Natalie Tronick. receiving champion Foundation Simmental Stalker Feeder is Natalie Tronic. Reserve champion Foundation Stalker Feeder Foundation Simmental goes to Dayton Dorn. Entering the ring, we've got our male class of commercial stalker feeders. This is our final call for our female stalker feeder class.
very interesting class to sort through, and it's fun for me because I was always taught, no matter what level I was judging at, whether it was junior college, K-State, or around, industry individuals that I really respect, we're taught to be individual evaluators, not comparative evaluators. We've got bulls, we've got club calves, we've got stalker calves, and we got a pretty young calf that's, my hat's off to bringing one to town and getting it broke. So I really am not comparing these cattle to each other. I'm really comparing them to themselves, to my image of what they should be in my mind. Bar none, I think the butterscotch calf needs to come to the forefront of this class. Whether you're, calling him a prospect steer, a feeder, whatever that might be. I think he puts a lot of good together. I mean, he's got a good feet and kind of chubby middle to him. His feet and legs are right. He's got some look. He's got piles of hair. His pin set is big and square. Izzy is, burly and big-backed and chubby as you'd want one. No, but he's a march. You can't expect that. He's not even dehorned yet. That one does a lot of good in a lot of ways, and I think he just needs to win on quality alone. From there, we go back to the logical basics of beef cattle 101. We got a bull calf in here that's big and growthy and robust. He's got a big rib cage. He's thick-ended. He's got some good feet underneath him. Just gets a little bit plainer there in his front end. Kind of wants to run downhill. Doesn't hit you with the sheer quality of that one that starts. But I just think logically he's the one that needs to go second or be reserved in this heat right here. And then we fall down into kind of a trio, if you will, of stalker calves. And then it kind of comes down to growth, weight per day of age, and functional in terms of their build. I think this calf is the one that comes for me. He's, growthy, he's long-bodied. He's probably the levelest made and the most attractive in his hind leg. And then we get into the pair of here where there's just a thicker calf who's, stouter from behind. He's wider base, but he's just a little coarser than that one ahead of him. I still think that he needs to go ahead of the young man's calf right here, who's just a bit more down-headed, a little flatter back to his hip, and kind of tapers to the base of his leg. But he's still got some body and some growth to him. I'm sure that one's going to pack on pounds and put on flesh really well how you need him to. And then the young lady's calf that rounds out the class, I mean, that's just a ton of fun bringing one to town and getting them halter broken, going through the motions. You just get out-horsed out here, and there's nothing to discount you on that. Keep a feed pan in front of that one, keep a bottle on him, or back on the cow wherever he came from, and you'll be just fine. So really fun class to work through. I appreciate it.
Receiving blue ribbons in the male stalker feeder commercial is Savannah Mason, Cassidy Thavenet, Miley Gaddy, Monroe Thompson. Receiving purple ribbons are Lane Schnelly and Tatum Schroeder. Now in the ring, we've got female stalker feeder class. We will do our commercial champions after this, and then we will do our stalker feeder overall champion and reserve champion.
for the champion. Two heifers that are very different in their type and kind. And what I mean by that is that there is one that is extremely attractive and has a lot of tricked out, kind of high value pieces in my mind. And then there's one that I think just really hits home in terms of checking the boxes on being the right kind of cow prospect that still has a look of quality. I go with the young lady's black heifer here because I think she is that. I think she is just truer and bolder in the shape to her rib. I think she's just a little more maternal and productive there. I think she's a little thicker when you get up on top of the cattle, and I think that she uses her hock and her hind leg a little better. I do think that she wants to push a little chest. That one might be a little looser hided, and you might have to feed that one a little differently. But when you get her loined and when you get her parked and she kind of gathers herself, that one does hit you with a ton of quality. That's not taking anything away from this one because, boy, when she gets her stuck, this thing is worth $1 million from the side. Really, really cool to look at in terms of her extension, her refinement, just kind of how she puts that together in a level manner up high. I just need to see that one with some more meat and potatoes. I know that these might be some semi-influence, and some of those are later maturing, and this is a prospect show. So I'm hoping that one's rib shape comes. I hope that one feeds into being a very good doing heifer because she is nice and tidy up through her chest. You could probably feed that one pretty hard and get away with it. Just didn't see just the basic fundamental cow power of that one that I like to win. Nonetheless, I think there's a pretty big gap in quality for the softer hided or the softer hair-coated blaze face heifer that's reserved there. This heifer's got more extension, more outline, more length of body. She's just a little flatter haired, a little more conventional in her design than those two ahead of her, but still needs to go ahead of the young man's heifer that rounds out the class. One that's got some look in terms of femininity. I like her smoothness. I really appreciate her head shape. I think that one's head shape and neck shape is very attractive, very high quality. I think that one just needs time to mature and develop. Just gets a bit outpowered in terms of weight per day of age and frame of those ones ahead of her.
Receiving blue ribbons in the female commercial stocker feeder class is Kyler Kotis, Harper Schmidt. Receiving second purple is Avery Krause. First purple is Rachel Beeler. Now coming into the ring, we've got our champion commercial stocker feeder drive. From the male stocker feeder class, we have Tatum Schroeder and Lane Schnelly. From our female stocker feeder class, we have Avery Krause and Rachel Beeler.
We've got 4 really nice commercials out here. I feel like I, tried to talk through the cattle as much as I needed to in class. There's obviously very different types and kinds. I think they represent their breed or their, kind of part of the beef sector wherever they lie. I think they represent those very well to a high degree. So I'm just going to go out and let you know who I like for champion and reserve commercial feeder today.
Receiving champion commercial stocker feeder is Tatum Schroeder. Reserve champion commercial stocker feeder is Rachel Beeler. Next, we are going to bring in all of the champion and reserve champions from each breed for the overall champion and reserve champion. So, from the Angus breed, we need Avery Barnard with her heifer and Avery Barnard with her male. Bronve, we need Landry Krause. Charlotte, Charity Schnelly, and Karsten Schnelly. From the Gelby, we need Hallie Goes. Limousine, Dawson Sims. Maintainer, we need Xander Seaman. Piedmontese, Kellen Schlickman. Pulled Hereford, Trevor Spilker. Shorthorn, Boston Crawford. Simmental, we need Elsie Warner and Charity Schnelly, and Foundation Simmental, Natalie Tronick and Dayton Dorn. Commercial, Tatum Schroeder and Rachel Beeler. We are going to have the champions come in and the reserve champions wait outside. Words. It's late.
we get the champions for these breed divisions back out here, and I think it's a really nice lineup, one that has a lot of quality and a lot of differences in that right. There's females, there's steers, and I think there's just a ton of quality. I'm not going to belabor and talk through the cattle. I don't expect you to maybe agree with me on every class, but I at least hope that you can follow where I'm coming from. I like cattle that are built to handle the real world with the look of a show ring. They need to have some muscle. This is a beef breed, and I'll tell you, young people, when I was showing, all we ever got talked about and preached to was that, the outsiders are a lot better selling against us than we are for ourselves. With animal activist groups, there's a lot of money and lobbying against that. I'll tell you right now, this is the brightest and most optimistic the beef breed, the beef industry in America has looked in a long time. You've got influencers on different internet, social media platforms talking about the benefits of meat in diets. You've got nutritionists and dietitians coming out saying that eggs, meat, dairy are good for you. We're able to do this in a way that is not hurting the environment. Anybody that wants to talk about emissions and how beef cattle are bad for the environment and how bad farming is, you give them my phone number and you bring them to eastern Nebraska where I'm at, and then we'll give them a little different perspective, I'll be honest. So never give up on this stuff, because this is your chance to influence others. When you're at your county fair, this is the one time a year probably you're going to have a bunch of city people wanting to come talk to you about your animals. So don't be a gatekeeper to this industry. Don't put up a face and say, I don't want to talk to anybody that's not in our business, because they wouldn't understand. They don't like us. They're out to get us. Make them your friends. It's a lot easier catching flies with honey than it is vinegar. And if you want this kind of stuff to be able to go on as long as I'd like it to, for yourselves, my kids, your grandkids, however long down the line you think, I don't know what I would do without showing livestock. I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at in life without it. It teaches you to be competitive. It teaches you discipline and work ethic. And it teaches you that, losing isn't really fun. And so you learn if you want to work hard at something or not. And as somebody that's, had a couple different hats in terms of job positions out of college, I'll tell you that when you have the kind of mindset that people have, that showed livestock, that judged livestock, that were a member of 4-H and or FFA, those are hireable young people. When you get into an interview room and you tell somebody that you were on a livestock judging team, or that you grew up showing animals, they either respect it and understand the work that goes into it, or they ask you more about it and they're blown away with what you tell them that is pretty simple to us, but it's just unheard of in the real world. People are playing video games, we're out rinsing calves. They're sleeping in, we're out getting stuff worked. And so just really hang on to that and understand that what you're doing is going to carry on for a lot longer in life than it does when you walk out of this ring, regardless of the banners and the ribbons and all of the accolades. So I tip my hat off to you. Before I go out and name the champion stalker feeder, just give a round of applause to these kids, the parents, everybody in the back that's helping them out. Everybody that's putting on this show, JC, Lauren, all the extension people. It's been really, really fun. I'm pretty sure that unless they kick me out, I'm supposed to judge the sheep show later today. And so I'll still be around and get to work in this nice barn. So it's been a pleasure. I won't talk through the cattle. I'll just make one more lap and let you know what I think when it comes down to it.
Receiving Grand Champion Stalker Feeder is Natalie Taronic. We'll go ahead and bring in the reserve champion from the Foundation Simmental breed, which is Dayton Dorn.
We bring that reserve out here, and I think he fits into the mix really well. Maybe doesn't, just overpower you sometimes in terms of frame, but I think that one's got a ton of quality. We'll let these guys get a little settled back down. That kind of caused some ruckus and got some of these cattle a little excited, so we'll let them kind of get set back up. We'll take one more look and name the reserve, okay?
Receiving reserve champion is Elsie Warner. This concludes our Stalker Feeder show. Thank you to everyone who has come. We hope that you join us at 6 o'clock for the sheep show.
I'd hope so.